Hey, it's Saturday night, part two of our Thrive Online conference. We're hearing from Cindy Klassen tonight. She's an Olympic speed skater, tied with Clara Hughes as Canada's most decorated Olympian. Excited to hear her story tonight. We're continuing that conversation. Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health, overcoming, especially during this COVID season. Tune in tonight, grab a coffee, and hope you enjoy the conversation tonight. Tomorrow morning, Pastor Dan Lamus from King's Church in Quispamsis, New Brunswick will be sharing on spiritual health issues, things like that. And 7 p.m. on Sunday evening, if you register, myparkwaychurch.ca, click on news and events. If you register for conference, obviously everything's free. But if you register, you will receive a Zoom link to be part of just an online Zoom chat at the end of our conference where we can talk about some of the things that were brought up in the conversation. So make sure you take advantage of that. God bless you this evening. Well, Parkway Church conference, if you're attending Thrive Conference, you were here Friday night with us. We talked to Robert Meeks, great certified psychotherapist, counselor, heard some great stuff from him. Really excited. Day two of our conference. It's entirely online. This is, some of you have ever been to a conference before. You get in the car, you get in a plane, you go to a hotel, there's a giant meeting space, all those things where you're hearing people speak on stage. Obviously things are very different right now during COVID. And to be able to meet this way online, it's an awesome thing to be able to get together this way. And the theme of the conference, it really is sort of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health, moving forward, overcoming. Lots of people struggling right now, working through issues connected to COVID. If you tuned in Friday night, and by the way, Friday night is still available online, you can check it out. You heard some of those stats, just really heavy things that people are facing. And tonight, this is a huge privilege. Mrs. Cindy Klassen, is meeting with us tonight, and I'm honored to interview you. Cindy Klassen is tied with Clara Hughes as Canada's most decorated Olympian. She's a speed skater, and months ago, we've done this conference 3 times now online. Her name was, my wife and I were chatting, and we were thinking about speakers to invite to come, and your name was on our mind. We remember you, especially at the Turin Olympics. We remember you seeing, I remember the night, one of your victories watching. And and it was just kind of a neat thing that we reached out. She was willing to come and meet with us and let us interview her. Canada's tied as Canada's most decorated Olympian. She's part of the Calgary Police Force now, and has a young family. All these things come together at once. But I remember that Olympic Games. I know there's a longer story other than you just showing up at the Turin Olympics and winning. Most of us, lots of kids sit in their backyard shooting a puck around, shooting hoops, doing those things, dreaming about winning a Stanley Cup, winning an Olympic medal. It's for a lot of us, it's like dreaming of being an astronaut or something like that. Tell us, how in the world, how did you end up from, being a young kid to winning Olympic medals? Tell us about the journey of getting there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it didn't start off with speed skating. I mean, I was one of those kids that was playing hockey on the driveway, shooting hoops and stuff like that. And to tell you the truth, my first love was hockey. When I was growing up, most of my friends were boys, and so I just naturally got into the sport. My dad loved hockey, and so he was always taking me out to the local rinks and stuff like that. And I just I pursued that sport. And I remember when I started, there just weren't many girls playing hockey at the time. I think I was the only one in the league at the beginning, and then there was another girl, but basically I was always the only girl on my team. But at a young age, around, I think it was about 11 or so, I found out that women's hockey was going to be in the Olympics for the very first time in 1998. And so I thought, yes, that's my dream. That's my goal, where I want to go. And I'd love to represent Canada at the Olympics and in women's hockey. And I felt like that was God's plan for my life. And I felt pretty sure about it. I was making the top teams in boys hockey until I was about 15 or 16. Then the guys, they got too big, with the body checking, and so I had to switch to, there still wasn't enough girls playing hockey at that time to have a girls league, but I had to switch to a women's league. And so I was 16, and there was girls that were in their 30s, and so it was so different than what I was used to. But I continued to improve at my game. And then finally in 1997, the year before the 98 Olympics, I was in grade 12 and I got a call to come out to Calgary to try out for, they're basically picking 5 players from across Canada that would get to go to train with the national team and try to beat off one of the players on the national team and go to the Olympics.
Wow.
And so I went to those tryouts and they're only picking 2 defensemen, and that's the position that I played. And I did the scrimmages, the practices, and I thought I had done really well at the tryouts. I went home and I was just waiting to find out I had made the team. And then I can't remember how much longer after I'd been back in Winnipeg, but I found out that I hadn't made it. I got cut. And I was just devastated. And I really had to ask God, why? Because I really thought that this was his plan for my life, that I was going to represent our country in 98. And so I was kind of at a loss, and I didn't really know what to do. It took a while to kind of realize, hey, maybe this isn't God's plan for my life, but maybe in 2002, if I keep working at my game, keep practicing, training hard, maybe in 2002, that's the year that I'll be able to go. So I was entering my first year of university and still playing hockey, still focused on getting to the 2002 games. But all of a sudden I didn't have those high school sports anymore, like basketball, volleyball, and all those other things that I used to do. I was just playing hockey, and I needed something else to kind of fill up my time. And so my parents said to me, why don't you try speed skating? Because I had always been a strong skater in hockey. And my first reaction to them was absolutely not, because there's no way I was going to wear one of those tight skin suits.
Yeah.
And those long blades, they just look funny to me. And so they kept pushing me, and they knew one of the coaches at a local club, and they said, just go out for a practice, just try it. And so finally, I think it was just to get them off my back. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll go out to a practice. How hard can it be? So I went out to that first practice, and I thought it would be just like hockey, but faster because the blades are so long. And I was in for a rude awakening, because the first time I stepped onto the ice, I could barely stand up on the blades because they're a lot narrower than a hockey skate. And then they feel so awkward just because the blades are so long. And so there I was, 18 years old, just struggling to make my way around the rink. And 5-year-old kids, half my height, were just flying past me. So it was a very humbling experience. And I'm not sure what it was that kept me going back. And maybe it was the challenge and just trying to see if I can improve at this. And my parents said, the first few times I came back from practices, I was pretty quiet, and they thought, oh, she's going to give it up for sure. But I think it was just the challenge of just seeing hey, maybe I can improve, and at least it'll help my hockey because I'm skating, and so it'll help my leg strength. And I just remember that very first year watching the 1998 Olympics and being glued to the television set, and not to watch hockey, but to watch speed skating. And our Canadian team did so well there. And I remember watching Katrina LeMay-Doan win gold in the 500. And then Susan Ock, who's from Winnipeg, she won silver in that same race. And I was just in awe of them. And that dream started to get planted in my heart that, maybe I can make it to the Olympics in speed skating. Wow. And I didn't tell anybody that because I was so bad at the sport. I skated, the technique is so different from hockey to speed skating. And I looked like a hockey player. And, but I just kind of thought maybe I can improve at this. And by the end of my first year of speed skating, my coaches in skating, they said, why don't you try giving up hockey for 1 year and see what you can do in speed skating, just focus on that for 1 year. And so I made a deal with myself that in my second year of skating, I was still young enough to be eligible to try out and make it to the Canada Games. So I thought, if I make it to the Canada Games team in my second year of skating, then I'll move out. In my third year, I'll move out to Calgary and pursue speed skating full time, because Calgary is kind of where you need to be. The national trains out of there. There's an indoor oval, and so the conditions are a lot better for skating, and versus minus 30-degree weather outside in Winnipeg. So in my second year of skating, I really shocked myself, and I not only made the Canada Games team, but this could only be God, but I ended up qualifying for the junior national team. I went to the junior worlds and I won a gold medal there and a bronze medal. And I just thought, okay, it's decided. I'm not going back to hockey. I'm going to move out to Calgary and pursue speed skating full time and try to make the Olympic team in skating. So that was kind of how I transitioned, how I got into skating.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. It's incredible to hear you have, as one dream sort of went to the side, like something else emerges in the center of it. So many
Yeah,
plans we
yeah.
make don't turn out, and then this other door opens, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It was just, it was really, I mean, God at work there. And there was people who, when I said that I was going to give up hockey, there's people that told me that was a bad decision, that I had a
Yeah.
way better chance of making it in hockey, that I just need to stick around till 2002 and I'll make the team. But I just felt like, I felt in my heart like God was leading me to the sport of speed skating, and I never looked back.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, I'm sure there are some kids wondering this tonight, especially. We get some kids tuning in to conference, and boy, I'm wondering it too. We hear we hear some interviews connected to this sometimes, but what does it feel like standing on a podium? Bronze, silver, or gold, it wouldn't matter to me. I'm sure maybe I know Olympic athletes are you're wanting gold. Obviously, you're shooting for that, but what does it feel like standing on a podium? Like
It's, I
at
mean,
the
it's something that
Olympics.
you always dream of,
Yeah,
and then when you stand on it, it's just surreal, because I mean, you see your country's flag being raised, you
yeah,
hear the Canadian anthem, and it's just an amazing feeling. And in 2006, I was so fortunate because in the 1500 meter, which was my best race there, I ended up winning gold, and my teammate Christina Groves won silver. So we were on the podium together
that's
and
cool.
singing the national anthem together, and it was just like a really special moment. And so yeah, it's amazing to be able to, and you think of all the people who have been there along the way for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
you, especially my parents, my family. They were so supportive of me the whole time, and then obviously my coaches and my teammates. I mean, I couldn't have done it without them. And so it's a very special moment.
It's awesome. I know as a country we love our Olympians. We're excited to watch on TV. The Winter Olympics, there's something special about it for us in general, right? We're a winter nation, right? And our families love watching through the years and celebrating with our country that way. That's exciting. So tell me, you hinted at it a little bit, but tell me a little bit. You mentioned, God's plan in the center of this. Tell me a little bit more about how your faith is intersected with your career, your journey so far. Yeah, along the way.
I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, so God was always at the center of our lives. And I think that as I've gone through life, the thing that has really impressed upon me more and more, and that I'm coming to like a deeper and deeper realization in my faith, is that this life isn't about me, and that
Yeah.
it's about God.
Hmm.
And just because of all that He's done by, I mean, dying for my sins, like really, I owe Him everything. And so, going through my life as an athlete, like I realized that this talent that I had been given in sports, like in just being athletic, I realized that this is a talent that I was given to me. It was a gift from God, and so I
Yeah.
knew that I needed to glorify Him with my talents and do everything that I could with what He had given me for His glory. And I kind of got like reminders of that along the way. And I think like going into the 2002 Olympics, I just remember thinking, I mean, I was extremely nervous. I thought, I can't
Yeah.
believe I'm going to my first Olympics. I thought it feels like the whole world is going to be watching. And so the
Wow.
week leading up to my very first race, I was so nervous that I was having trouble like, sleeping and eating. And so it got so bad that the night before my big race, my coach ended up taking me to McDonald's just to get some comfort food into me, because she just wanted me to have some calories in me for the race the next day. And so we did that, and the next
Little
morning,
plug for McDonald's there too. Yeah, yeah, no,
oh,
yeah.
no, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah,
And so,
yeah.
so I did that, and then the next day I woke up, and it was the day of the big race, and I was still super nervous. And I remember while I was killing time before I was going to head over to the oval for the race, I checked my emails, and I remember getting like this mass email from my former high school, and it was just messages from staff and students, and they said that they're praying for me, they want me to go
Wow.
and have
Cool.
fun and do the best that I can, and that they're excited for me, like just being in the Olympics. And then it just kind of hit me that, I had done all the work up to that point. I'd done the
Yeah.
best that I could to get myself up to this point, and there's nothing more that I could do than go out, race the best that I can, and do it for God's glory. And the rest is just in His hands, and I can just trust Him with that. And one verse that I think really helps me with this is 1 Corinthians 10:31, and it says, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God." And so that kind of really, it hit home there, and I felt that the nerves just kind of went away, and I went into that race and I just felt confident, I felt excited, and I knew that I was going to have fun with this race, and that I would go out and do the best that I could for God, and I could just leave it in his hands. And I ended up coming out with a bronze medal in that race. So it was just kind of a really special moment, like my very first Olympic race, but I'm just giving that all to him and doing it for him. That was a big thing for me. And as I like go to like school talks or do different things to just kind of share my story, one thing that's kind of a neat reminder for me is like I'll look at the medals that I've won, and they're starting to get a little bit tarnished, and the ribbons are getting tattered, and like because I'll hand them out at schools, let the kids try them on, and I mean they've been dropped before, so they're a little dinged up too, and they're starting to like fall apart. And to me, it just really reminds me of a verse in Matthew, and it's Matthew 6:19-21. And it says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And so for me, it's really special, like how that relates to my medals. And like, although it's a huge honor to have been able to race for Canada and to win these medals, it was just an amazing moment for me. I still have to remember that those medals that are tarnishing and they're falling apart, those are just temporary, and that I need to be focusing my eyes on Christ and things that like thinking about things in light of eternity, what's important in life, and having my mind set on Christ. And so so that's something that has kind of been a good reminder for me throughout the years. And now too, like, I mean, I'm not, skating's over. I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm a mom. I have a 1-year-old and I'm on mat leave. And so I'm staying at home. And for some people, it might not seem like the most prestigious thing that I'm doing. It's not very glamorous. I'm staying at home, taking care of my daughter and my husband, and like doing housework and stuff like that. And I think that an important thing to remember is that no matter where you are in life, I think that God is really looking at your heart posture, and there's always the opportunity to have that mindset of doing it for Christ. And so, I mean, I'm definitely the type of person where, I mean, if I'm having a hard day or if I haven't gotten enough sleep, it's so easy for me to maybe like grumble and complain and like say it's late at night, just got my daughter down, I still have a pile of dishes to do, and it's easy for me to think like, oh great, I still have to do that, and kind of complain kind of in my heart about it. But I think that what's so important is to think about how I can glorify God in it instead, and think about how be thankful that I have dishes to do, that I have a house, that I have a daughter, and all these wonderful blessings. But just being able to think about doing everything for God. And I know that it doesn't matter whether you're an athlete, whether you're an executive in a company, or whatever you're doing, you can do everything for the glory of God. And I think that that's just something that I'm starting to learn more and more, and especially as a mother, like God's refining me more and more, and just learning to think not about myself but about Him, and doing it for Him and for others, and just being thankful. And I think that you find more joy in things if you live that way.
Yeah. You're being trained by your 1-year-old now, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's incredible to hear you say, the rigorous training, the goals, all those things for an earlier career. As far as sort of God's economy of things, He's still training all of us right till the end. He's still working in us, and there's still victories ahead. They might be different victories, but there's still victories ahead, right? There's still things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that makes life exciting too. I mean, there's going to be hills and valleys, and I think that it's when I'm in the valleys that's when He feels the closest, and I've learned the most through those moments. And so I need to be grateful for the ups and the downs.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a great thing for us to think about right now as we move forward. during the season. Now, I hear people talk about this a lot. When my family and I, we love watching Olympics. We hear the in between the races where commentators are talking and stuff. There is a conversation often about, obviously, the physical training you go through as an athlete. There is a conversation that often comes up about mental training, preparedness, uh, goal setting, all these things that coaches or former coaches are talking about on TV. Most of us, the average person walking around, have probably never been coached like you have been coached. I meaning, you have given yourself over to a type of training in your life and a type of preparedness, that boy, I would love to learn something about. Like, tell me about, what does it mean for you those years of getting ready? We think about, the mental fitness, emotionally preparing, all those things. How did you prepare that way for those? And do some of those principles apply to your life now? Right? Do they continue on? Life
Yeah.
disciplines or things like that? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that they definitely apply to to what I'm doing now, and I think for me, one of the things I would do was I would always have like a large goal that I would set, and
yeah.
so say the Olympics were my big goal. I wanted to go to the Olympics. Then I would have mini goals as well along the way. Like, so maybe I had a competition coming up and I wanted to do skate a certain time in this competition, or maybe in practice I wanted to be able to do so many laps or something like that. And so I have those mini goals that would kind of set me up to get prepared for that big goal or get me closer to that big goal. But one thing I think that really helped me as well, that I know that it's easy to stay positive when things are going well, but when
Yeah.
things are not going as well as you'd like, then that's a lot harder to do. And so one thing that I did really focus on in the hard times was trying to learn how to turn obstacles into opportunities, or setbacks into opportunities.
Wow, I want to hear about
And
that. Yeah.
so I remember in the 2003-2004 season, I was in training. We were about a week before we were going to head off to the Fall World Cups. And we do these things called excels. And so basically, you start off at the beginning of, like, there's the long stretch before you hit the corner. So you start off at the beginning of that kind of slow, and then you pick up speed. And then when you hit the corner, you're pretty much going full speed, and you go full speed around the corner, and then you kind of let off. And it's just to warm you up and get you ready for the practice.
Yep.
And so I was doing that. And as I was going around the corner, somehow I lost my balance and I ended up sliding into the corner. And there was a girl that was in the corner, and I think she maybe like froze. Like she was just so startled seeing me coming. I'm not sure what happened, but I ended up
Yeah.
crashing into her.
Oh no.
And after we finished like tumbling around and everything kind of settled down, I noticed that there was something wrong with my hand. I didn't know what. And our skin suits that we were wearing were black. And so I couldn't see anything, but I just kind of grabbed onto the inside of my forearm. And I just sat there. And my teammates that were still skating around, they said it looked like I was laughing. And there ended up being like a pool of blood around me. And
Oh my
one of the
goodness.
coaches came
Oh
over.
wow.
He said, I don't remember this, but he said that he slapped me across the face to try to keep me from passing out. And so what had happened is her skate had sliced the inside of my
Oh
forearm,
my goodness.
and so they called an ambulance, and I was rushed off to the hospital. And once I got there, I thought, okay, they're going to stitch me up, and I might have to take a couple days off the ice, which really sucks right now because we're going to the World Cups.
Yeah.
But I'll be back on the ice in a couple of days. And then they told me there that it was actually a lot worse than I had thought, and
Wow.
I had severed 12 tendons, a nerve, and an artery, and they basically said my season's over. And so I was pretty shocked. They said I'm going to be in the hospital for a few days to be operated on, and after the shock of that kind of wore off, I thought, okay, well, what can I do about this? And I thought about what are some good opportunities I can take here. And one of them was I got a chance to go home to Winnipeg to be with my family because I couldn't do any training at the beginning. They didn't want the blood pumping. So I got to go home, be with my family. I got a lot more time to spend with God and in prayer and reading my Bible. And then as I was able to start training again, I thought, okay, I can't get back on the ice right away because they wouldn't let me skate until my hand had healed enough, because if I fell down on the ice, then I could just rupture the tendons again. So I basically was allowed to ride the bike and I could do some dry land stuff, but I wasn't training with my teammates or anything like that. It was just all on my own. And so I thought, okay, I can't train with them. I can't be on the ice, but what I can do is I can watch a video and I can start to visualize what I want to feel like when I get back onto the ice and really try to work on my technique during this time, because as skaters are always working on their technique. And I mean, coming from hockey, I still had stuff I needed to work on. And so that was just an opportunity for me to really work on that. And then also just figure out some new kind of training methods, because I couldn't hold a squat rack or a bar like I normally would. And so my coach and I came up with these new ideas of like wearing like one of those weight belts and then dangling weights from it and doing squats on boxes and stuff. And so it was just kind of a different way of training and just trying to, and I think that it's kind of a refreshing thing too, because it's not the same old training all the time. And so I was just trying to figure out different ways and ways to have fun with it. And so I ended up actually coming back quicker than expected. And I was able to qualify for the World Cup at the end of that season. And then I made it to the World Championships and won a couple medals there. And so it ended up being a lot better than I expected. And I think it was because I think the mental training, visualizing myself skating played a huge role, because I couldn't do anything else. And I think that helped to improve my skating for when I actually hit the ice again.
Wow. So there are a lot of people, and we've probably all done it in some sort of way, where you have something, you have a real stop in the direction that you were going, right? An injury, there's lots of stops happening right now in our culture in the middle of the pandemic. There's people that have had a stop like that, and there's potential for us to sit around for a year being upset that something gets stopped, that there's been a change of plans that was outside of our control. And boy, you seem to you're pressing us towards something here a little bit, that we can take a hold of that and go, these are the things I can do right now. And if you if you hadn't have kept training, right, in the way that you could train, you couldn't do some things, right? Boy, how your career could have been stunted potentially, right? If you had have just sort of gone home and Netflix forever. I know we're sort of pre Netflix maybe, but yeah, but just sort of lost track of that large goal, right? In the middle of the small goals being put back. I appreciate so much. Our guest last night said something very similar about the need of small goals connected to the large one. In the sense of sometimes we get up in the morning and go, well, I'm going to do this with my life, and there's 100 small goals underneath that they haven't changed in themselves yet. Like I want to be great at this, but nobody ever gets to that large goal without seriously getting a hold of those small things that are life change issues. Yeah,
Absolutely. It does. It does take a lot of hard work and just making it become a habit too, because a lot of things are things that we don't really want to do naturally. There's a lot of resistance. And so I think the more that you do it, I think the more it becomes a habit. And for me, like even when I started skating, I didn't really have a team around me, because I was just on a club team that first year of skating. And so I had to do a lot of stuff on my own and a lot of training on my own and figuring things out on my own. And so like I would find these old hockey brochures and I would see like, okay, this is working on the legs and speed skaters have strong legs, so I'll just do these programs. And so I did a lot of stuff on my own. And it was hard because I had to motivate myself. But the more that I did it, the more it became easier to do this and do it on my own and really focus on that training.
Wow. Yeah. Powerful. Tell me a little bit. We're in the middle of the pandemic. We shared some of these stats the other night with our viewers. I'm not going to kind of share them again, but people are in the middle of, there's job loss, and we made a promise last night. We're not. We had a certified psychotherapist on last night. We're not giving online counseling. This is not what's going on. We are not trying to give pat answers to really hard situations people are in either. That's not what we're doing. But there is, there are people in the middle of some real challenges right now. We opened up maybe a different part of that topic Friday night. Tonight, they're facing real difficulties connected to everything right now: job, family, relationships, well-being in general. In the center of that, this could go a lot of different ways, however we choose to kind of take it. But how do people move forward? And you shared a story there. I appreciate so much. You start, of recovering from that injury and stuff. There's been other challenges in your life along your journey. I know injuries, families, things that have happened that you've had to really work through in the center of your career, and still move forward. Could you speak to that a little more of just how do we get going past what's right in front of us right now? Our speaker last night talked about the narrative a little bit of some people fall down and say I'm going to stay here forever, and they speak that over themselves and they stay there, right? And there seems to be people that for whatever reason they're able to take those steps and move forward. How do we move forward in the middle of this? What's some little tips that you've discovered, or things, life experiences connected to that, to helping people move forward through some difficult season here? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can only kind of speak to my own
Yeah,
experience.
for sure.
And, I mean, the things that I think have really helped me is really, and I think it's applicable for today, but staying in community and staying in prayer and
Yeah.
reading my Bible, like in the morning, just having that devotional time with God in the morning. And I know that staying in community right now is a lot tougher just
Yeah.
because of COVID. One thing that I'm a part of is an online Bible study,
Yeah.
and which has been great because every Thursday morning when we get together and we do our study throughout the week and come together and meet. And so for me, I've found that just hugely helpful, and just hearing about other people's perspectives and stuff like that. But the thing about community and prayer, I think that has really helped me in the past too. And I can just share a story about something
Yeah.
that happened with my sister. And so in 2008, I was overseas. I was in Berlin and at a World Cup. And one evening, I got a text message from my brother, and it said, "Call home. Lisa, my sister, has been in an accident." And so I called home, and I found out that what had happened is that morning on her way to work, she had gone over this bridge. It was winter time. She'd gone over this bridge, and the way that the snow had kind of been plowed, it kind of formed a ramp to this guardrail. So she's going over the bridge. She lost control and then just started sliding towards this ramp of snow, and ended up, we found out from someone who was actually behind her at the time, her car kind of ramped up onto the guardrail and teetered there for a moment, and then fell like upside down, plunged down to, it's called the Red River in Winnipeg.
Yep.
Apparently it was like 15 meters. She fell through, partially broke through the ice. And what we were told is that because she was stuck in there with her seatbelt on, she couldn't get out, and water started coming in, and they think she was submerged for probably about 5 minutes. And so miraculously, there was 2 people behind her that came to her rescue. And so one was an off-duty firefighter, and his car wouldn't start that morning. So he ended up being like right behind her at the time of the accident. And then another guy, he ended up, for some reason, he had put his filleting knife, he had sharpened his filleting knife the night before and had it in his car. And that was the tool that they used to like cut her out, like the seatbelt. And so those guys, they rushed down. The off-duty firefighter, he ended up getting her out of, he grabbed a branch from these people who were just walking along the river, this walking stick, and he's like, "Hey, how am I going to get through this window with this?" But he ended up managing to smash open the window, and he got my sister out, and he resuscitated her, and she was able to say her name and her occupation before she blacked out. And then they took her to the hospital, and basically that was all that we knew at that time. And from the information that I have from my brother, it didn't sound like she was going to make it. And so basically I booked the next flight home, which it was in the evening in Berlin. And so the next flight home was the next morning. And I was just hoping that I could get back in time to see her before what they said she was probably going to pass away.
Yeah.
And so that night, I had a lot of time to pray and think, and I got on my knees and I just prayed that that God would perform a miracle, that he'd be able to save her life. But I also prayed that his will would be done, like here on earth as it is in heaven, and just that I was able to really release her into God's hands. And there was a lot of tears. It was really hard, but I just felt like I was able to just give her life into God's hand and say, whatever is your will. I know it'll be hard. Whatever, if it's his plan to take her home, it'll be extremely hard, but I was able to just let that go. And it was incredible, just kind of the peace that God gave me
Wow.
after praying that. And I sent out a bunch of emails to my friends I knew would get on their knees for my sister. And yeah, it was a long night, but I was also able to rest, and I just felt like, hey, God has this. It's in His control, and I can just rest in that. And so I got back to Winnipeg, and I found out that she was still alive. And I remember going to visit her in the ICU and walking past each bed because she was at the end of this long row. And I was looking at each person thinking, okay, she could look this bad. She could look this bad, just kind of bracing myself
Yeah.
for what she
Yeah.
would look like. And when I got up to her bed, she was intubated. And so she couldn't talk, but she was able to actually write on some paper. And the first thing they told me when I got there was like, don't tell her about the accident. They had turned the TVs around so she couldn't see because they didn't want her to like stress out or panic about what had happened. And so the first thing that she did when I saw her and sat down there, she wrote on the paper, I think I know what happened. And then she drew like this really a bad drawing of but a bridge and like something going over. And I was kind of like a deer caught in the headlights because I'm like, what do I do? She knows a lot more than we
She
thought.
knows. Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
so it was kind of funny, but that week it was tough because they still weren't offering us any hope. They didn't think that she was going to survive. But throughout that whole week, we were just surrounded by church family and friends and family members of ourselves. And so having that community around us, it was so uplifting knowing that people were praying for our family, praying for our sister. And the other thing too, that this one verse just kept popping through my mind during that time. And it's Philippians 4:6-7. And it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and petition and with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And I really felt like He had given us the peace that transcends understanding during that time. Like we were just giving, just leaning on Him and giving our sister up to Him and knowing that it's in His control. And I just felt like through that time, He really sustained us through it. And after a week, it was a miracle. She just turned a corner very rapidly, and she ended up going down to step down for a week, and she was out of the hospital in 2 weeks. And it was just it was really a miracle that God saved her life. And she's doing really well today. She's a flight instructor, and it's just amazing that she's still around and with us today. And I'm just so grateful to God for saving her life, but also just learning to trust Him and knowing that whatever the outcome, like we were okay, like that He was going to sustain us no matter what. And so for me, I think that for the prayer and staying in community, I think is a big thing, a really huge help.
You know, when you say that, I appreciate so much. I know at the start of the pandemic, like lots of churches, so many things moved online, including our small groups in Ontario right now. There's a stay-at-home order. People aren't in each other's houses, even for a small group or anything. And I know early in the pandemic, people were I think even within the church, we're kind of like, well, we'll just wait this out and things will be normal in a bit. And as it sort of progressed on, I've gotten more phone calls as a pastor of going, I'm not real excited to use Zoom, but I need to be in a small group. I've started giving in and going, just what you said. They're like, as things go on, I really do need to be in meaningful community with people, with other people that are trying to follow Jesus too, within the church. We're built for community this way. We're built for these things. And I appreciate so much. Wow. That peace that surpasses understanding, it's real. It's real. And that verse is so beautiful. It surpasses understanding. You shouldn't be having any peace right now. It's a miracle. It comes from God. It comes from Him. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's boy, God's hand on your sister's life, even the people behind her in the accident, right? Like providence in her life, incredible. God working in the situation, powerful. Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing today. Great to pass this on to our viewers tonight. If you're tuning in for conference, I appreciate you've given us some great things to mull over in the middle of this. I know right now lots of you are listening. You've registered for conference. You are tuning in, and you're in the middle of some real changes and shifts in your life. There's maybe some discouragement that's settled in. There's what's going to happen in these next months. Lots of uncertainties. Boy, get into community, be with each other, move forward in the set of difficulties. Some of the things that have been shutting down, closing around us, there are other opportunities in the center of this to move forward. And just like we let you know last night, conference, if you are in need of counsel, we want to start that journey with you. We can move you, and if you're not sure if that's something you want to open the door to, and you didn't tune in on Friday night, make sure you watch Friday nights. It's a great discussion on when do we know if we should go see a counselor, things like that. If you're in need of counsel that way, we can pray for you. Give us, you can connect to our church, myparkwaychurch@gmail.com. You can call us 613-378-2953. Make sure you do that. You can connect to us that way. But we are able to move you towards some great counselors as well, and help you out that way, and give you some counsel, but also move you towards some people that are even more equipped along the journey. And as always, same as last night, if you are in the middle of some real crisis right now, there are some numbers at the end of our kind of broadcast tonight that you can check into as well. That would be helpful that way. Don't go through this alone. It's the worst thing we can all do in the middle of COVID is isolate from each other. And help each other out. Check in on your neighbors. Yeah, we talked about this Friday night. You may be feeling fine right now, but people in your neighborhood may not. And make sure you look out for each other during this season. It was an absolute honor to talk to you, Cindy. And we are thankful. It's been a blessing to hear your story, what Christ has done in your life. We're proud of you. We appreciate all of our Olympic athletes. We love when the Olympics and Worlds come along. We love being Canadian. We love our country and appreciate how you represented it, and it's a great thing. So God bless you. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to say thank you so much for having me and having me as part of this conference. It's really special to me.
Awesome. God bless you so much, Cindy Klassen. Tied as Canada's most decorated Olympian. It's been great to have you. God bless you. We will see you tomorrow, Sunday. Parkway Church, and if you're attending the conference, if you're not part of a church on Sunday morning, if you're not tuning into your home church, not part of one, feel free, 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. The next portion of our conference will be there. Pastor Dan Lamus will be sharing from King's Church in Quispamsis, New Brunswick, and later that evening at 7, there is an optional, if you register, you got to register online. I know some of you are just watching, but if you register online, myparkwaychurch.ca, click on news and events. Easy to register. It's not too late either. We'll send you a Zoom link, and you'll be able to zoom in on Sunday night, and we'll have a bit of a discussion connected to all the topics we've talked about through conference so far. So make sure you take advantage of that. Numbers at the end for you to call. Check in as you need to. God bless you this evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed conference. I hope it was a great time for you this evening. It's entirely free. We wanted to present this to you as something that was meaningful and helpful in your life right now. We're not charging anything for it, but if you'd like to make a donation to Lionhearts, it's a great ministry serving in the greater Kingston area. They're doing some great work. They have feeding locations all over the city where they're giving out free meals during the week. They have a warming station in Kingston downtown, a warming place where people can go in the evening and find a place to warm up. Great ministry through the entire city. If you'd like to contribute to them right now, great links on our website to check out for that. We'd love you if you'd be willing to support them through this season. myparkwaychurch.ca, click on giving, and there'll be a link there for Lionhearts, and make a donation to them. They're doing great work in the city during the season. We want to bless them, and I hope this conference has been a blessing to you. Take care. Have a great evening.